But yet, reversals. Whatever you do, something's going to be there to create misery. His own son, his favorite son, becomes a devotee. That was too much. And actually, his son loved him more than anyone else in the world. People feared him, but nobody loved him. By power, by prestige, you may gain fear from people or external respect, but inside they're usually envious. But you cannot get love. Not real love. Prahlad loved Hiranyakashipu more than Hiranyaksha, who was roaming through the universe to conquer for his brother, more than Hiranyakashipu's own wife, who had a amorous relationship with him. Prahlad actually loved him. If it wasn't for that love, he would not have taken the risk to speak so boldly in his presence. But Hiranyakashipu, blinded by his false ego, could not understand that love. And he took it as a great threat. Historically, in terms of religion, we find this continuously. That those who truly love are seen as threats and enemies to people whose intelligence is distorted by the false ego. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's the Lord. He loved everyone. Yes? And yet those young Brahmins, they were blaspheming him. They were threatening to do physical harm to him. And he loved them so much. He gave up his wife, his mother, his wonderful home in Navadvip, took sannyas just to reach the people who were blaspheming him. Just to reach the people who were rejecting his love. Haridas Thakur, why is he the Namacharya? Not only because he was chanting 300,000 names a day, because other people somehow or other may be able to chant 300,000 names a day, but it was his character that made him the Namacharya. He was so humble, he was so tolerant, he offered all respect to others, and he didn't care anything about being respected himself. He was not only chanting, he was preaching the glories of the holy name because he loved everyone. He didn't care whether one was a Hindu or a Muslim or an atheist or a Jain or a Parsi or a Christian. He didn't care any of these things. He loved the soul because he loved Krishna, and he wanted to give everyone that love. And Hindu Brahmins hated him. Muslim Qazis hated him. Agnostics and atheists hated him. They threatened him. They blasphemed him. They sentenced him to death. They tortured him. And the whole while, he loved them. Spiritual love is unconditional. Not only for God, but for every living being. Because every living being is part and parcel of God. If you have unconditional, unmotivated love for Krishna, that will extend toward everyone. And he was willing to make such sacrifices to show that love. Therefore, Haridas Thakur is sometimes compared to an incarnation of Prahlad. Vasudev Dutt, when he prayed, let all living beings go back to Godhead. Let me take all their karma. Perpetually suffer hellish conditions. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this is not a surprise you're speaking like this, because you are Prahlad Maharaj. What does that mean? That means he loves everyone. But from Hiranyakashipu's perspective, and from the perspective of people too much infatuated by their materialistic ways, anyone who preaches the truth becomes a threat, an enemy. Bhagavad Gita says the quality of a devotee is the devotee has no enemies. But it seems a contradiction, because devotees always have enemies. So why Krishna says he has no enemies? That means in his heart there's no enemies. Krishna's telling Arjuna a devotee has no enemy. And at the same time, he's on the battlefield saying, these are your enemies, kill them. That's why we need purports. And Srimad Bhagavatam says the only enemy for anyone is their own mind. And this was exactly what Prahlad Maharaj hated more than anything else. This distinction between friends and enemies. Yes? Of all the things in the school that he challenged, Sanda and Amarka, the seminal sons of Shukracharya, this is what he really didn't like. He could have complained about so many technicalities about education and different cultural, social lessons he was learning. But he said, I cannot tolerate this idea that you're teaching that this is your friend and this is your enemy, and how to deal with your friend and how to deal with your enemy, how to conquer and exploit your enemy, and how to somehow or other keep your friend and utilize him or her according to your needs and your wants. I cannot think like this. For me, there's only Krishna and Krishna's children. Everyone is my friend. The only enemy is the mind that distorts our ability to see Krishna everywhere and in everything. So yes, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you must kill. You must fight. Now, fighting on a battlefield means you have to distinguish between friends and enemies. But he's doing it in the spirit of a surgeon, not in the spirit of a selfishly motivated person. A surgeon loves the patient, but hates the disease. The disease is the enemy, not the person.